In a world teetering on the edge of escalating conflicts, diplomatic deadlocks, and rising authoritarianism, one voice cut through the noise this week, bold, unapologetic, and reverberating across global capitals. The United Nations Secretary-General stunned the world with a fiery speech that directly challenged Israel's military and political actions, delivering a moment of unfiltered truth that is now echoing across continents. This breaking news summary unpacks the significance of the UN chief's viral address that left Israeli officials visibly shaken during a high-stakes global assembly. We examine the diplomatic history behind this moment, the economic and geopolitical aftershocks, and how this speech may redefine global stances on Middle Eastern conflicts. With humanitarian crises unfolding and global trust in multilateral institutions at risk, this speech may be remembered as a turning point. In a rare and forceful moment at the United Nations General Assembly, Secretary-General António Guterres openly criticized Israel's military operations in Gaza and the broader handling of the Palestinian crisis. Citing clear violations of international humanitarian law, Guterres stated that the suffering of civilians can no longer be justified under the pretext of self-defense. The hall fell into a tense silence, broken only by the murmurs of stunned diplomats. Israel's delegation quickly responded, calling the speech biased and disgraceful, with some officials walking out in protest. This isn't the first time a UN leader has criticized Israel, but rarely has it happened so openly and so directly on the world stage. Guterres' statement also pointed out that the conflict must be seen in a broader historical lens, one rooted in decades of occupation, statelessness, and broken peace agreements. His framing of the crisis as a humanitarian emergency rather than a military dispute is what gave this moment its weight. The speech instantly went viral, with millions sharing clips on social media, fueling both support and outrage. What makes this development particularly historic is the level of diplomatic backlash and support it simultaneously received. While Israel condemned the statement, numerous nations, including several in Latin America, Africa, and Asia, applauded the speech, viewing it as a rare act of moral courage. It reignites long-dormant debates about the UN's impartiality, its role in enforcing international law, and its effectiveness in addressing protracted regional conflicts. The fallout from the speech is not limited to diplomatic chatter. It has sparked concrete shifts. Several countries have now announced they will reassess arms deals and bilateral aid packages with Israel, citing humanitarian concerns. Turkey, South Africa, and Brazil have demanded emergency UN sessions, while France and Germany are treading more cautiously, trying to avoid alienating strategic allies while acknowledging the legitimacy of the criticism. In Washington, the speech poses a dilemma for the Biden administration, which has traditionally been a staunch ally of Israel. With 2024's electoral season heating up and a rising chorus of progressive voices demanding more accountability in foreign policy, the administration is under pressure to respond. Meanwhile, Russia and China seize the moment to position themselves as champions of multilateralism, urging reforms to the UN structure that would reduce the West's dominance over global diplomacy. Global markets, too, are reacting. The speech, and the instability it represents, triggered a drop in regional stock indexes, particularly in Tel Aviv and parts of the Middle East. Oil prices have edged upward due to fears of regional escalation. Investors are nervous, not just about immediate conflict, but about the broader geopolitical realignments this moment may catalyze. Beyond diplomacy and politics, the Secretary-General's speech has brought renewed focus to the human cost of prolonged warfare. His vivid references to displaced children, collapsed hospitals, and famine-level blockades were not just statistics, they were a plea to recognize the shared humanity behind geopolitical rhetoric. It was a call to recenter diplomacy around human lives rather than national interests. The UN's humanitarian agencies are now under greater pressure to accelerate aid delivery to Gaza, and public support is surging. Grassroots movements worldwide are rallying in solidarity with civilians caught in the crossfire. Social media campaigns, global petitions, and mass protests are gaining momentum, particularly among younger generations increasingly skeptical of traditional narratives. In sum, the UN chief's viral speech was more than a diplomatic rebuke, it was a demand for moral recalibration in global affairs. In a world riddled with injustice and political calculation, this moment stands as a reminder that truth spoken boldly can still shake the walls of power. Whether this translates into real change remains to be seen, but for now, the world is watching. Stay tuned, watch the full documentary right after the summary on this channel.
Tomorrow I head to Sevilla for the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development, which we are co-hosting with Spain. But before I leave, I wanted to say a few words about the situation in Gaza. The conflict between Israel and Iran has dominated headlines, but we cannot allow the suffering of Palestinians in Gaza to be pushed into the shadows. The ceasefire achieved between Iran and Israel offers hope, and hope is more needed than ever. So it is time to find the political courage for a ceasefire in Gaza. Following the terror attacks by Hamas on 7 October, which I have unequivocally condemned, Israeli military operations have created a humanitarian crisis of horrific proportions, more dire today than at any point in this long and brutal crisis. Families have been displaced again and again, and are now confined to less than 1/5 of Gaza's land. And even these shrinking spaces are under threat. Bombs are falling on tents, on families, on those with nowhere left to run. And people are being killed simply trying to feed themselves and their families. The search for food must never be a death sentence. Let me be clear. Israel, as the occupying power, is required by international law to agree to and to facilitate humanitarian relief. Meanwhile, humanitarian operations continue to be strangled. For over 3 months, shelter materials and fuel for critical services have been blocked. Doctors are forced to choose who gets the last vial of medicine or the last ventilator. Aid workers themselves are starving. This cannot be normalized. A handful of medical supplies finally crossed into Gaza earlier this week, the first from the UN in months. But this only underscores the vast scale of the crisis. A trickle of aid is not enough. What is needed now is a surge. The trickle must become an ocean. We need concrete action so aid can reach all people swiftly at scale wherever they are. Any operation that channels desperate civilians into militarized zones is inherently unsafe. It's killing people. It's time for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages, and full, safe and sustained humanitarian access. The problem of the distribution of humanitarian aid must be solved. There is no need to reinvent the wheel with dangerous schemes. We have the solution. A detailed plan grounded in the humanitarian principles of humanity, impartiality, neutrality, and independence. We have the supplies, we have the experience. Our plan is guided by what people need. It is built on the trust of communities, donors, and member states. And it worked during the last ceasefire, so it must be allowed to work again. To those in power, I say, enable our operations as international humanitarian law demands. To those with influence, I say, use it. To all member states, I say, uphold the UN Charter you recommitted to just yesterday for the 80th anniversary. Let us bring in life-saving supplies. Let us reach people where they are. And let us recognize that the solution to this problem is ultimately political. The only sustainable path to reestablishing hope is by paving the way to the two-state solution. Diplomacy and human dignity for all must prevail. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary General. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation today accused the United Nations of misinformation and a campaign of misinformation about killings near their food distribution sites. I wonder if you could answer this allegation.
We didn't invent the images everybody has seen.
Mr. Secretary General, Amélie Botolier from AFP News Agency. My question is on Sudan. General Buran this morning released a statement saying he had a phone call with you and you suggested a one-week ceasefire in Al-Fasher, that he accepted it. So can you confirm that, and can you tell us if you also talked with the RSF and what their answer is? Thank you.
We are making contacts with both sides with that objective, and that was the fundamental reason for that phone contact. We have a dramatic situation in Al-Fasher, and you remember that some time ago a big convoy of UNICEF and WFP was bombarded. The people are starving and in an extremely difficult situation. So we need to have an amount of time of truce for aid to be distributed, and we need to have it agreed with some days in advance to prepare a massive delivery in the Al-Fasher area. I am hopeful that I had a positive answer from General Buram, and I'm hopeful that both sides will understand how vital it is to avoid the catastrophe that we are witnessing in Al-Fasher.
Gabriel? Mr. Secretary General, good morning. Gabriel Elizondo from Al Jazeera English. There was a report in Haaretz Israeli newspaper this morning, sir, that I want your reaction to. There were Israeli soldiers that admitted that they were ordered to shoot unarmed Palestinians while they waited for aid. What is your reaction to that report, sir? And second question is it now time for member states to sanction Israel to get it to comply with international law?
Well, we don't need a report of that nature to acknowledge that there have been massive violations of international law, and indeed, when there is a violation of international law, there must be accountability.
Joe?
Thank you. Joseph Klein, Canada Free Press. Palestinian President Abbas has said fairly recently that the path to a full permanent ceasefire in Gaza and ending the conflict includes not only release of the hostages and withdrawal of Israeli troops, but also the complete disarmament of Hamas and Hamas's giving up of its power and authority. I wonder if your comments on the suggestion that as part of a full peace arrangement that Hamas be required to disarm and give up its authority.
Well, we recognize the Palestinian Authority as the legitimate authority in the Palestinian territory, and of course we will support any peace initiative led by the Palestinian Authority.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: African politics, economy, and increasing power. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.
Tell us what you think in the comment section. Like and share the video, and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our African videos. It's the best way to support us.